Today I'm going to make meringue mushrooms. This simple recipe has only 5 ingredients. These sweet treats make great decorations for cakes, but they're great on their own too. I usually make these every December for my Bûche de Noel. That's a Yule Log Cake, but you can make these into any shape you like. All you need is a piping bag. Here are the ingredients you'll need for the meringue mushrooms. You'll need 3 large eggs. Make sure they're at room temperature. 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar. I can't really give that to you in grams because it's a little too light for my scale to register. You're going to need some sugar, and I'll talk to you about the measurement after, but you'll need superfine sugar. If you can't find it, don't worry, just take regular sugar and put it in the blender on high for about 30 seconds. You'll also need some cocoa and some chocolate sauce. I'm using my homemade chocolate sauce today, and these are the ingredients you'll need for that. You're going to need some brown sugar. I have 1/3 cup or 75 grams, 1/3 cup or about 75 milliliters of water, 1 cup or 250 milliliters of milk, any type of milk you like, 340 grams, that's about 12 ounces of chocolate. I've broken it up into pieces, and I'm using a mix of dark and milk chocolate. You'll also need a teaspoon, about 15 milliliters of vanilla extract. I just wanted to mention something about the ingredients. Meringue can be very tricky. You need exactly double the amount of sugar that you have for your amount of egg whites. So if you have 90 grams of egg whites, you're going to need 180 grams of sugar. I think it's a little too vague to say, okay, you need 3 egg whites and 2/3 cup of sugar. If you have a kitchen scale, now's the time to pull it out. The first thing that I did was I preheated my oven to 200 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 90 degrees Celsius, and I had to look this one up. It's about 1/4 of a gas mark, if that helps anyone out there. I've also placed my 2 oven racks in the upper and lower thirds of my oven. I've lined a few baking sheets here with parchment paper, and I have my piping bag ready. I have a round tip, as you can see there, so that's ready to go. And I wanted to show you a little trick. I have 2 pieces of parchment paper here. On one of them I took a Sharpie and I drew some circles, and that's where I'm going to be piping the tops of my meringue mushrooms. So if I put this one on top, you can still see the circles, but you won't get any of the ink on your meringue. For those of you who don't know how to separate eggs, I'm going to show you. Basically, you just need 2 bowls, one to catch the whites and one to put the yolks. So just give it a little tap, open up the egg, don't let the yolk fall out, and use the other side of the shell to get all that white out. You see? It's pretty easy to do it that way. Sometimes the yolk falls apart, so you have to be careful. And then I put the yolk into my bowl here, and I usually put those in the freezer and I add them to omelets or scrambled eggs or something like that. I don't throw them out. Just like that. And as I'm doing this, someone in a quad just drove by. I don't know if you heard that. Reality TV, I always say. Oh, this one has cracked in a weird way. So I'm gonna have to grab the shell out of there. I'll grab another eggshell here, a bigger one, just in case it cracks. This happens. Not a big deal. Just want to try to make sure I get all of that egg white out. There we go. Now this part is pretty important, like I mentioned in the intro about meringue being a little tricky. Pull out your kitchen scale if you have one, because we want to measure how many grams the egg whites are. Now I've got, most kitchen scales have a setting on them where you can put a bowl, an empty bowl, And right now it's showing me that the bowl weighs 259 grams, but I have a setting where if I push on it, it goes to 0. So that way I can measure only the contents of the bowl and not the bowl itself, okay? So I have exactly 100 grams of egg whites here. And so what I need to do is make sure I have double the amount of the sugar. So I'm going to need 200 grams of sugar, and that's how I measure for the meringue mushrooms. In my bowl here, I've put my egg whites, and I'm going to add that cream of tartar. Okay, got it all out. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the egg beaters, and we are going to beat these egg whites and cream of tartar on medium-low until soft peaks form. Now, I'm going to show you a picture of what soft peaks look like right now. And there's no specific amount of time that it'll take. Just keep checking as you go, and that's what I'm going to be doing. So away I go. No peaks yet, as you can see, so we got to keep going. Let's check for the soft peaks. Almost there. Okay, we've got soft peaks. As you can see here, they're kind of sticking out. That's the soft peak we're looking for. So we can go ahead and start adding a little bit of sugar. I just want to make sure my beaters aren't going to fall over there. So we're going to gradually add the sugar as we beat the egg whites, and we're going to beat it on high until stiff peaks form. And I'm going to show you a picture of what stiff peaks should look like. And again, there's no set amount of time that it'll take to do this. You just keep beating until you get the stiff peaks. The reason we want stiff peaks is because when we pipe our mushrooms, we want them to keep their form. And if they're soft like this, they're not going to keep their form as they bake. So I'm just going to go ahead and beat these on high, adding the sugar a little bit at a time until I get the stiff peaks, and I'm going to check once in a while. Okay, let's check if we have stiff peaks. I would say not yet, because if you turn them up, they should stick up, right? According to the picture that I showed you. So let's just keep going until we get those stiff peaks. So I'm dipping my beaters in, turning them upside down. They're not quite stiff yet. Almost there though, because right here, you see it's kind of falling over. If they were stiff, they'd be sticking up. So let's try that again. Okay, let's dip it in. And they're still kind of soft. Keep going. I just wanted to mention something. As I'm whipping, you might see ribbons forming. That means we're very close to having those stiff peaks. All right, let's check it out. Almost there. Let's see. No, not yet. Almost. Okay, I believe we're there. All right, can you see? Those are my stiff peaks. So that's ready to be piped. So I'm going to show you how I fill my piping bag. I basically take a tall glass and I put the piping bag this way. And I'm going to fill the meringue into the piping bag. I've got a little dish of water here that I always stick my spatula in so that it doesn't stick too much. Now this can be / will be a messy job, just to let you know. And you really want to fill it up as much as you can because you don't want to have to come back and keep filling the bag because it's, like I said, it's messy. I'm just going to grab another spatula here. So I'll just fill my bag up. Oops. Like I said, it's messy. Reality TV. I'm going to try to get all of the meringue in there so I don't have to come back and fill it. I decided to put some gloves on because it's really, really messy. So I'm going to show you what I do. Basically, I'm squeezing my bag. It's coming out on the top, actually. And I'm going in a circular motion. I'm actually following my little circle design there. They don't have to be perfectly circular. They could be oval. Nothing in nature is perfect, right? And that's a good thing. When I say perfect, I mean by human standards. Now I'm kind of going around my circles now. I'm not really following them because I want to make as many as I can in one shot. Got a tiny oven. So I want to get all the mushrooms I can make in in one go. I love this piping bag. And if you don't have a piping bag, you can use some parchment or wax paper and make it into the shape of a piping bag. Tape the sides together and cut a hole in the tip. That works too. I've done that before. Before I had my piping bag, that's what I used to do all the time. Now I'm going to pipe the stems. Let me move this over. And I'll put this here so you can see it. And I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, I have 12, okay. So I'm going to make probably 15 stems because sometimes they fall over during the baking. See what I'm doing? Just that. Big, small, tall, funny looking. I'm going to show you after what to do on the tops so that they're not pointy. Had we not reached the stiff peaks, these would not be standing up right now. That's why it's really important to do that. Looks like I may only get 12 here. Let's see. I'll try to space them out a bit better because I want to have a few extras. Okay, put one here. Little fella. Sorry for my arm in front of the camera. I managed to get all of my meringue into the piping bag. So this is all I have here. Let me see if maybe I can get another mushroom top done here. Let me move this over. I'm glad I wore gloves. Got meringue all over me. How about I'll just make a few little circles. We might have some baby mushrooms there. I think that's all I can really fit. Okay, anyway, I don't have much left. I have maybe this much left in the piping bag, so that was pretty good. Just before we put these into the oven, I want to flatten the tops of the stems. Now I've got a little bit of water here in a dish, and I'm going to dip my finger in and just flatten the top. Because when we attach the tops of the mushrooms, we want the stem to be relatively flat so that it'll go on pretty straight. I mean, it's okay if it's crooked a little bit, that's fine. But for the most part, it's easier if it's flat for them to stay on and stay in one place. So just flatten those out before you put them in the oven. Now I'm going to bake my meringues for 2.5 hours. I'm going to put one of my pans on the top rack and the second pan is going on the bottom rack. Halfway through the baking time, I'm going to switch them around and turn them around just to make sure that they get really, really well baked. And once the baking time is over, I'm going to leave them in the oven, turn the oven off and open the door slightly and let them dry out in the oven for a good few hours, or better yet, overnight. Now let's make our chocolate sauce. In my saucepan, I have my water and my brown sugar, and I've put the heat up to medium. I want to bring this to a simmer. Now I'm going to add my milk. And I'm going to bring that to a simmer as well. My milk mixture is starting to simmer now, so I'm going to give that a stir, turn the heat down just a little bit, and I'm going to add my chocolate. just a little bit at a time because I want to make sure that it melts completely. And you want to stir constantly during this process. The chocolate is all melted. Oh my goodness, I want to drink this up. So now I've turned the heat off and I'm just going to add my vanilla and give that a little stir. Now it's ready to use if you want to use it on something hot. We're using these to decorate our meringue mushrooms, so I'm going to let this cool for a while. And you're going to have much more than you need for the meringue mushrooms. So you can store this in the fridge. It's great for chocolate milk or hot chocolate, or to pour on ice cream too. Okay, I'm ready to make the mushroom meringues now. I've let them dry overnight. They were in the oven. The oven was off, but they dried really well. I'm not going to break one, but I want you to listen to this. They're nice and dried out. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn them over. These are the tops. And I'm going to try not to make too much of a mess as I snicker at myself. Now I've got my chocolate sauce. And what I'm going to do, let me see. Why don't I push this over a bit? There will be a mess, I know it. I'm taking my chocolate sauce and I'm going to just put a little bit on the actual top of the mushroom. And I could probably lift these up with my fingers, but I just want you to see everything here because I've got a side angle right now for you guys. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one of the muffin stems or stumps and just place it on top. And I'm going to let that dry. Or harden, I should say. My cat was trying to open the oven door all night. I don't know what it was about the meringues that got him going, but he wanted in. Thankfully, he didn't get to them, and we've got them intact today. This is a little one. I'm going to put that right there. So far, so good. All right, why don't I do the rest of them? And when they harden up, I'll show you the next step. What you can do at this point is put them in the fridge. That will help the chocolate to harden. The chocolate has set, so I'm going to turn my mushrooms around and put them on my little tray here. They're stumpy mushrooms. Some of the chocolate sauce, as you can see, got on the mushroom itself, but that's absolutely fine because I'm going to be dusting these with cocoa. And they're still going to look nice. You know, they're not perfect mushrooms, but I'm pretty happy with them. And they're going to be melt in your mouth delicious. Oops. If I wanted to be picky, I could just wipe the chocolate sauce off, but I am not going to be picky today. Oh, this one's kind of lopsided. make a little room here. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to grab my cocoa. I just have a little bit of cocoa here, and I have this little sieve. I'm going to put a little cocoa in that and just dust. Aren't these cute? I love making these. They really melt in your mouth. They're crisp on the outside and soft on the inside. They'll keep in an airtight container for a few weeks in a cool spot or for about a month in the freezer. I hope you enjoyed this video, my friends, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and please share it with anyone you might think will enjoy it. And don't forget to leave me a comment. I love your comments and I do reply to them. I'll see you next time on Rain's Kitchen and Garden. Bye!